Mercedes Villalba to speak to Amendment 19 and other amendments in the group.
Thank you, Convener. I have 9 amendments in this group and they cover 3 areas. I would like to start by just putting my thanks on record to the organisations who've engaged with me in drafting these amendments: Scottish Rewilding Alliance, Scottish Environment Link, the Chartered Institute of Ecology and Environmental Management, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and the Royal Society of Edinburgh. And I'd also like to thank the Scottish Parliament legislation team for their support in drafting at what must have been a very busy time for them. So the first set, Amendments 19 and 20, relate to an area of concern raised during Stage 1 in committee evidence and through the call for views, that there is a crucial need to distinguish between habitat condition and habitat extent when discussing how best we can support habitats. So given that habitat condition and extent are distinct and significant areas of conservation importance, each in their own right, the reasoning is that they should be treated as separate targets in this bill. So my amendments 19 and 20 seek to do this. And the goal here is to clarify and to strengthen the bill's focus on measurable outcomes. And if the Scottish Government isn't able to support these amendments as drafted today, it would be helpful to hear from the Minister how she will address this issue ahead of Stage 3. Moving to my next set of amendments in the group, I have 4 amendments already mentioned by my colleague Sarah Boyack. These seek to add additional target topics to the bill. Namely the restoration of natural processes, that's Amendment 42, the condition of marine and terrestrial ecosystems, which is 43, the status of keystone species, which is 44, and the ecological connectivity of natural habitats, which is Amendment 22. Amendment 42, as I've said, relates to the restoration of natural processes, and by introducing a target topic on this area, it recognises that the health of our ecosystems depends upon the proper functioning of natural processes and seeks to add natural processes explicitly to the list of target topics, which would then enable secondary legislation creating targets on this topic to be introduced. Natural processes as a term would refer to any ecological cycles and or processes that are hydrological, geological, atmospheric or otherwise relate to flora and fauna. For example, this would include seed and pollen dispersal via wind, wildlife or water. We know that ecological change and decline in Scotland is often related to disrupted natural processes such as the seed rain from the invasive non-native Sitka spruce, which dries out peatlands, leading to the release of previously stored carbon. As it stands, large swathes of Scotland's land are being managed under conservation efforts, yet biodiversity continues to decline. So this amendment is ambitious in that it shifts the conversation from merely protecting our natural environment towards restoring Scotland's biodiversity. Similarly, Amendment 43 ensures both marine and terrestrial ecosystems are included in nature recovery targets. As my Labour colleague Sarah Boyack has highlighted through her amendments, urgency is needed in our actions to protect the marine environment. The alarming fact that less than 1% of Scotland's inshore waters are in recovery further highlights the need for the inclusion of both marine and terrestrial ecosystems in this legislation. So through this amendment, secondary legislation will set targets for the recovery of Scotland's seas as well as land. Amendment 44 is closely related to the previous 2 amendments in that it provides the opportunity for the Scottish Government to be ambitious in upscaling its work on ecologically threatened species. Keystone species are such species that have a disproportionately large effect on ecosystems when compared with their relative abundance in nature. And so it follows that if restoration and conservation efforts are focused on only threatened species, there's a danger that approaches for non-critically threatened species may be delayed. And habitat fragmentation is one of the leading drivers of biodiversity loss. Therefore, improving ecological connectivity is a vital step, not only in improving the resilience of our natural environment, but in being ambitious in our legislation by looking to restore our natural woodlands. So Amendment 22 is intended to address this through the introduction of a dedicated target on connectivity. Now, I know that Ariane Burgess has an Amendment 47 in a later group, which I think may seek to achieve something similar in this area, so I'll listen to her contribution in that group with interest. And my final 3 amendments in this group seek to broaden the scope for species targets beyond those species classed as threatened. So the goal here is to promote conservation and restoration, thereby securing and safeguarding the recovery of Scotland's natural environment in its entirety. Amendment 21 amends the species target to species including but not limited to threatened species, whereas Amendment 105 replaces threatened species with species of conservation concern, and then Amendment 106 provides a definition of species of conservation concern. Now, I think Amendment 104, in the name of Evelyn Tweed, and Mark Ruskell's Amendment 23 seek to achieve a similar aim. So, again, I'll listen to their contributions and the Minister's response before deciding whether to move those amendments. Thank you.
Thank you.